Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday night prime time, and for the first time in the Butt Kicker GR Cup this season, we have taken the trip to South America. More specifically, we're here at Interlagos. Draft's going to be really important at this, our most open track of the season so far, but delighted that you could join us here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Dareth Thacker, joined in the commentary box by Lorenzo Bonda. And Lorenzo, I mean, the heavens have opened a little bit here at Interlagos. I mean, this race, I should say, really promises to be wet and wild.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and Interlagos always delivers. Like you said, Jack is going to be king, and as we look into the calendar, the race is going to be quite frenetic from start to finish.
Yeah, we've had some tight old tracks to start the season. Leden on Brands Hatch, where it was raining as well. Winton and Oschersleben last week. We're now at Interlagos, and really the tracks are going to start to open up a little bit. Sebring, Daytona, before we go back to Long Beach. So an interesting little calendar as we go through this GR Butt Kicker Cup. But I know that these guys are just getting towards the end of qualifying in this session. It's going to be a relatively tight grid, I think, Lorenzo, because with this rain, it's going to really quite open the door for some opportunities depending on whether these guys make some mistakes. I mean, the times are wide at the moment, but it could only really take one big mistake to drop you back down the field in this race.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think there might be the first challenge to go around a track that, it's not like any other track, right? You have a lot of elevation changes and everything like that as we look into the track conditions. 20 Celsius degrees is the ambient, 19 degrees in the track. The humidity is 100 kilometers because it is raining, and the winds are about 11 kilometers. It's not going to affect too much the car, even though it's an early morning in a virtual April in Sao Paulo. But like I said before, is a wet track. It's a little bit different from what the other tracks drive in iRacing because you go up and down the hill, right? And there are some parts where the drainage might not work as you probably want to, and it makes the lines a little bit more difficult than more flat tracks they probably ran this season.
Yeah, it's a track Interlagos, I think, that a lot of these drivers will have raced at a lot before. I mean, it's a track that you see in many a calendar, and for good reason. It is a fantastic racing circuit. But in the rain, really, we've not had it too long here on iRacing, so these guys are going to have to adjust that little bit more to the conditions and to try and eke out as much from the car as is possible. We've got Christopher Severt currently with the fastest time, but it is just a tick over 2 minutes here. So, it's not the shortest lap time, and we might be looking at not too many laps in this 15-minute race.
Yeah, not only that, oh, interesting. I didn't even look at the calendar properly. Dara, I've been in race spot for 80 years nearly, okay? 2018, 6 years, okay? Ask me how many times I commentated a race in Interlagos. I'm probably going to say many, right?
Yeah.
How many races I've commentated in Interlagos in the moto layout? I think
that's
this is
a
the
good
first
question. Yeah, because we just saw it before on the screen as we saw a couple of drivers. You could just see it there, Andre Castro coming through that little chicane after coming through Jungsao. So there's a couple of little challenges for these guys. It's just a little bit of an expectation that these guys won't normally have of the track, and a bit of an extra challenge for them to negotiate.
Yeah, and not only that, that chicane is a little bit tricky because it looks like a straight, but it's not a straight, because there are parts of that chicane where if you ride, especially on the curbs, I think it is one of the transition of the left-hand curb to the right-hand curbs, the car can get a little bit offset, especially at the exit, and you can get either an off track or lose some speed, lose some momentum, and then open up the door for the other drivers to come and perform an overtake down into the Sananas.
Yeah, we're probably going to see quite a few attempted overtakes in this race. Qualifying just about to be over, though. Not too many times on the board. There's a couple of drivers who haven't set any lap times at all, but I'm sure they will be trying to work their way through during the race. There is the checkered flag for qualifying. You could just see Morris Messing and Juan Perez at the back there, who have not set a time, but they will be on the grid, which is here. Christopher Severt will line up on pole here in the Butt Kicker GR Cup. Kamil Karras is alongside him. Simon Polterak is in P3 with Andre Castro in P4. Crispin Wright and Jack Kent are on the third row. As we look further back, Alvaro Lopez and Chris Betts in the top 8. Sebastian Cohn-Woniarski and Matthew Crouch round out that top 10 with Clement Gaudet and Oliver Koons in the top 12. Then it's just 2 more drivers, Maurice Messing and Juan Praise. And not the biggest grids here, Lorenzo. I mean, we've seen a few more drivers in races gone by here on Friday night prime time, but I still think we're going to get quite a lot of action, especially with these unpredictable track conditions.
No, absolutely. I think this is going to be an interesting race. He picked up a little bit in terms of track temperature, but it's not going to be enough for you to say, oh, this is scorching hot for a Sao Paulo track, where normally in the summer you would see like temperatures going up over 70 degrees Celsius. But I think it's going to be an interesting race. Maybe in the mid-pack, I think we're going to see the most action because it has been the closest, you know. I think Chris Sivert is going to basically break away. I mean, and the rest is basically going to fiddle themselves out in the grid. But it should be an interesting race nevertheless for 15 minutes. Like, it's going to be, I don't know. I don't want to say chaotic going to turn number 1 because I've never seen Interlagos turn number 1 with these cars.
Yeah, but of course, with these wet conditions, it's going to be relatively interesting just to see how these guys can work it through. Of course, we're going to have a little bit of a formation lap, not a full formation lap. You can see we're not on the start-finish straight, but it will take a little while for the cars to come around. But, you know, I think it's really going to be optimal for Christopher Sevet if he can afford to get away. Of course, he had that big advantage in qualifying, and he doesn't really want to relinquish that early on in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things about Interlagos over here, I think, other than some of the other tracks, maybe Sebring might come to mind, or Daytona probably will come to mind as they're going to go, I think, next week in there. It's how late or how early you probably want to go on the car, right? How fast you want to go down the pedal and get to turn 1, right? And break away from the draft. So it's going to be an interesting one, how Severed is going to negotiate. If I'm me, I go as late as you can be, and try to leave turn 1 for those who want to know how to do turn 1 on the rain.
We will find out. They're about to come through what is really the final meaningful corner on the racetrack when it comes to power. Normally, of course, we've got the little chicane for the moto layout just up here as the safety car will pull us around. So, you know, you've got to be careful. You've got to be aware of this because you can't just get the run out of Junsao at the final corner to really plough down towards turn 1 because you've got that little chicane to negotiate, and it might mean a couple of drivers get slightly caught out when we get to the race. But here we go, up towards the line. The safety car should peel in to the pit lane, and it will release Patrick Sevet. Not Patrick Sevet, I'm very sorry. It's Christopher Sevet up towards the line as he will try and get us away here with the green flag flying. When does he decide to go? We are racing here for Friday night primetime at Interlagos. It's a good start for Sevet as he runs down towards turn 1. He wants to make sure that he controls this line before anybody tries to make any moves around the outside. Maybe going Karras as we work our way through the opening center S, but diving down the hill, Sevet with a fantastic start. Karras holding off Polterak, and Castro's in there as well as we have a spin in the midfield.
Yeah, that's Clement Gaudet that eventually spun around, and the pain just justifies the mistake.
Really unfortunate there early on for him as we now see Karras and Polterak getting close together down at Decido do Lago as they make their way through what is turn 4 on the racetrack. Woniarski trying to make a move here on Crispin right, but he's not able to find a way through just yet. They'll run their way up towards Ferradura, of course, the horseshoe corner, a long right hand. The track tightens up here, but it's not stopping these guys for looking for some moves, is it?
No, they're going to be able to keep it side by side. I think the track is not a complete. It is damp, that you might have to take a different line for you to get around the track, but it isn't something that you might be overly concerned about. You know, it's just try to get out of the power as best way you can, and you can still break it a little bit into the inside line and explore a little bit of the curbs, though, as we're going to look in the replay what happened to Gaudet.
See down at turn 3, yeah, just losing the rear end and spinning around, and a very unfortunate start. Only 50 minutes worth of a race as well here on Friday night prime time in the Bucklicker GR Cup, so not too long for him to try and recover his position either, and he has got a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, back at the front is Christopher Sevet coming around to try and complete the opening lap, which we are still going on, as that was, I think that was Andre Castro trying to make the move on Polterak, who's dropped back from Kamil Karras on this opening lap, and we can really see where the gaps are beginning to form, can't we?
Yeah, I think that that chicane is gonna basically be the divider between everybody, because I think you're not gonna be able to take it two-way. I think following the other driver, especially with the splash in front of you, might be a little bit more complicated. Now you're gonna see Poltrak gonna try to defend that inside line. Castro gonna try to put it on the outside. I don't think that's gonna be enough for the number one to do that overtake.
Often you can find a nice bit of traction on the outside line, but not to be there for Castro. But he's got a very nice run through turn 2 and now all the way through turn 3. Will he have a bit of a run to get in towards the chicane? Let's see as they get down towards turn 4. That pit exit line is going to disappear as they get ever closer to the corner. It is Poltrak having to defend the inside. Castro seems like the faster driver at the moment, but he has to get this move done. Poltrak braking slightly later than his rival in that blue and yellow car, but Castro still not yet got it done.
No, not at all. And they're going to remain now on the inside line coming to Ferradura. And then all the way up to Laranjina. I think theirs might have a little bit of preference. Into the corner. There's a little bit of door bang in between both of them. Shoves Poltrak to the outside line, but they still maintain the status quo, even though the number one still retains a small lead. Now, next corner is going to be Big de Pato.
Yeah, it looked like there was a bit of oversteer there for Andre Castro, but he just managed to hold it and keep the position ahead of Simon Poltrak. So he is now going to be charging after Kamil Karras for that P2 spot. It's Christopher Sevitt who is running away in the early stages of this race. I say early stages, we're nearly a third of the way through. Not yet 2 laps completed, but with such a long lap in these GR cars, and the fact that it is raining, so the times are going to be slightly further extended because of that, it means that we won't have too many laps of Interlagos hit this evening. Jack Kent, and this is Woniarski going at it. Jack Kent has gone very wide at Jung Sao, and that's going to let Woniarski through.
Small mistake going through Junção right there on the braking. Easy for you to get by because you're coming downhill and you need to prep yourself on the climb again for the braking. And I think the number 6 just tiny mistake as now Castro and Poltrak part number 3, but not really. It's actually Castro on Caruso.
Yeah, I mean, he's really on a charge, isn't he, at the moment? Around the outside, he's going to get that one done pretty early. I mean, Andre Castro, 2 positions in the space of half a lap, really, but Kamil Karras is going to have that slipstream down towards the Interlagos, down this Red Reposta. Can he make the move back on that man in the blue and yellow car? I don't think he will be able to, but he's going to try it to the inside. I thought Andre Castro might defend that one, but he's going to allow Karras to the inside line. Around the outside, can he dance? Let's see. It looks like he's got some better traction on the exit, and I think he's just about going to get that one done, and Poltrak's now going to have a look for P3.
Yeah, as long as they respect the rules of sim racing, you know, number 1, don't hit your teammate, and number 2, don't actually refer to rule number 1. So as long as they keep it clean on the track and don't lose a lot of time to Castro, because Castro is starting to break away, that's really good.
Yeah, Castro, this is working very much in his favour to see these two trying to battle away for P3. Meanwhile, behind these guys, Crispine Wright is quite a long way back, and Woniarski is as well. But look at this, Poltrak getting a fantastic exit. Karras very much suboptimal, and Poltrak up towards Pico de Pado has got that move done and up into P3, and Kamil Karras, a horror lap from him, 2nd to 4th.
Yeah, unfortunate to see that happen. I think a little bit of oversteer. Just coming out of the corner, the car doesn't want to grip up, and the rain tire is not working as they should be. Coming to Junção one more time, and for now the number 2 is gonna retain that P4 spot, while Poltrak, as we see on the screen, trying to do his best to break away. But as the true one, the true, you know, breakaway guy from the group is this number 5, Chris Evert, doing really good in the race so far.
Coming across the line to complete his 3rd lap here at Interlagos. So, you know, fantastic work really from him so far. I mean, that last lap was a 2 minutes 1.1. So I think we're going to have 5 more laps here at Interlagos for us to see if anybody can make any more moves as we make our way through. There are some tight trains further back here, aren't there, Lorenzo? We haven't really touched on them with the battling up front, but Jack Kent has got Alvaro Lopez not too far behind him, and then behind them, Matthew Crouch and Maurice Messing are not too far away either. So some nice battles down at the end of the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. As Kent has a little bit of a wiggle. Lopez goes around, unfortunately, and is going to drop back several spots. Tierdara probably come back all the way into P12. It's going to be for Lopez. Another mistake done at the Senna S.
We've seen a couple of these so far this evening, haven't we? But just on the exit here, you can just see the rear end falling away from the car, and there's nothing you can do at that point to save the spin. You've just got to accept it and get back in an orderly fashion, which is exactly what Alvaro Lopez did to his credit. Meanwhile, just as that was going on, Poltorak did get through on Kamil Kraus for P3. So these two still battling away at the moment. They're not really letting each other get too far in front, and you can just see how uncomfortable it seems in these cars, isn't it? I mean, coming through turn 9 there, it looked like Poltorak had absolutely no grip at all, and here comes Kamil Kraus. They're just swapping positions like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely, which is a little bit weird for me to think about it. You know, it's either like you're powering down the car too early to try to get as much speed as it can out of the corner, doesn't it? But the car is not going to accept for you to, you know, go down on the throttle and get back up to speed, which for me is quite uncommon. But then again, it's rain. And rain thing makes rain thing do funny things.
Especially as these guys, relatively new model with the rain, of course, coming to iRacing not too long ago. But, you know, they're acclimatizing to it well. We've had rain in the Butt Kicker GR Cup so far this season on Friday night prime time at Brands Hatch. And that was quite an experience. Oh, that's Matthew Crouch, I think, having a spin. Maybe some contact, maybe just dropping it on his own. We've seen a bit of both so far this evening down at Yunsao. We're going to see a replay now. Looks very much like he's dropped it on his own, doesn't it?
Yeah, unfortunate to see that. We're going to look on the replay again from the number 10. I want to say maybe too much attack angle on the car, but I could be very wrong. Looking from the mid down into a mergulho. Yeah, just taking too much the corner in my opinion here, Dara, and unfortunately the number 10 is going to go around and get punished because of it.
And you can just see the rear end start to go, and there's not really much you can do, especially with the track as slippery as it is. Here is Castro, currently up in P2 after working his way through Kraus and Poltorak early on. I mean, he's not really gaining anything on Sever, but look at these two. These are still fighting away. They're providing some fantastic racing action for us to savour. Kraus and Poltorak, this really looks like it's going to come down to the wire in the last 3.5 laps of this race.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to try to, you know, decide this on a photo finish. That wouldn't be the shabbiest of things.
Yeah, we'll have to see how close it does get. Just depends, of course. Difficult to get too much slipstream when you've got that little chicane after you've come out of Yunsao, but we've got Simon Poltorak on board here, coming down through Magulio down towards Yunsao, and you can just see how tricky it is for these cars, and very wide there as Kamil Kraus maybe trying to get a better exit, maybe just, you know, messed up the corner a little bit, and in the end it helped him out for Yunsao. But as it is, these two really fighting away hard. Andre Castro hasn't run away, has he? So he's still in touching distance, but he looks relatively comfortable at the moment, doesn't he?
He is. I think gap right now is stabilized about 1.5 seconds between Castro and Kraus. But the thing is, one tiny mistake, even the one slight, you know, snap of the rear, you know, that snap oversteer the car might receive, I think shall be enough for Castro to find himself in a world of trouble. And again, as now we see Kraus and Simon Poltorak again coming down to the Senna S. From our counts, apparently 2 more laps to go.
Yeah, we'll have to see when they cross the line. Of course, I think if we cross the line, we might just about scrape another 3 in, because I think Christopher Sevic can do another 2 full laps before the flag will fly. But looking at this battle for P3, Kamil Kraus and Simon Poltorak still going at it between them. There is a big old gap back, isn't there, to Crispin Wright in P5, but he looks safe at the moment from Woniarski, who's done well in this race. You can see the position changes on the left-hand side of your screen. Morris Messing having the best race in terms of position gain so far. Started P13, now up to P8. Alvaro Lopez and Chris Vetz not having the best of evenings, but for some of these guys, they've really been fighting with the drivers they were starting around. So for the likes of Kraus and Poltorak, these guys have been looking at each other for the last 11 minutes.
Yeah, and just like Lou, they won't get away from each other. Or like they would say in Brazil, like a drop of Super Bonder. Yes, my name in Brazil is named after a glue. And they're not being able to break off from one another. It's just the skill level between all of these guys have been, you know, really good enough to keep in touch with each other.
Yeah, but let's just see how they can get on here. I mean, it's so difficult. You don't really want to lose a position here, lose the car. the final couple of laps, especially. It's such a difficult track. If you're going on for a good position, you want to keep that up. I mean, some of these guys as well will want to pick up some nice I-rating points as we look at Clement Godet and his interesting design for the car as we run our way through turn 10. But, you know, Christopher Sever, I mean, we really have to give him some credit. He's 9 seconds in the lead. We've only been going 13 minutes. To pull out that kind of gap is really, really quite impressive.
It is absolutely. It takes something different for you to get around in a car like this, in a slow car. I was commentating another race with the GR86 and had Adair Lopez, you know, one of the kings of Skip Barber's, driving around the car. It's just the technique that these drivers have to get around the car so cleanly, just makes it beautiful to watch. As now Caruso is going to be charging on that outside line, probably going to dive into the Ciudad del Lago.
See, Castro's really dropped off the back for the last lap or two, and Caruso to the inside. Is he going to be able to make that one stick? Polterak is just going to sit in behind and say, yeah, guys, you go and fight. I'll try and pick up the pieces if and when you two come together. But Castro on the outside line, it'll become the inside line on the run up towards Ferradura. Of course, such a long way turning right, but I think it's now Polterak maybe having a look. Just thinks better of it, but these three nose to tail, penultimate lap here at Interlagos, and you could really see any of them picking up P2 in this race as we see Kraus dive in towards turn 8.
And I think there's a little bit of a contact between the number 1 and the number 2. Slide contact again, and the number 1 gets slidey outside of the corner. The number 3 has to fend off 3 wide, and they somehow make it out alive, which is insane to think about. Great racing between all these 3 drivers.
Yeah, fantastic stuff for all 3 of these guys. Andre Castro really just looping it around the outside, getting the traction and picking up P2 again. Simon Polterak is going to demote Camille Caruso. He was P2 going into Vigo de Prado, left it in P4. Disastrous corner. Polterak now just trying to put off Andre Castro down into Ujensau as well. So one more lap here at Interlagos. These 3 guys really putting on a show here on Friday Night Primetime, and Kraus and Polterak, they're still fighting a way through the chicane.
As we're going to open up the final lap, we're going to look on the replay what happened to Matthew Crouch. We saw that Vets couldn't handle the wet, so we're going to see what happened to number 10 this time.
Towards turn 1, does he make any mistakes? Not too sure what happened there to him, but he has dropped right off the back, 54 seconds away from our leader, Christopher Sevet, who has begun our final lap here in the Buckliga GR Cup at Interlagos. Andre Castro really trying to throw the car through turn 2 and hoping it sticks. Turn 3 will allow Camille Kraus to get a nice slipstream down the rest of Reposta, but is it going to be enough? It's going to have to be a send, I think, Lorenzo.
Yeah, at the Ciudad del Lago, one more time. They're going to go outside line for the number 2 of Camille Caruso. Still going to remain side by side. Might get a better exit over here, Dara. The question is, can he seal the deal on Ferradura and Laranjinha? Because there will be a fight for the number 1 as well.
These two side by side on the run through Laranjina and Ferradura. Who's going to come out on top? Castro is looping it around the outside, keeping his foot in, and just pulling ahead on the run down into the tighter right-hander. What a move that is for Andre Castro. Fantastic work from him to put himself back up into P2, but it's not done yet, Lorenzo. We'll have to see how that one goes. Up towards Vigo de Prado, Andre Castro is still going to try and defend this position. Christopher Sevet still leads the way here on Friday Night Primetime. He's going to come in towards Ujensau now. He's got quite a way to go to the line, but it has been a dominant drive from him. The number 5 really has pulled away from the rest. Got pole, didn't look back. Fantastic stuff. He will work his way through the chicane and will now run up to the line as the others fight behind. Christopher Sevet has been immune to challenge in this race here at Interlagos. It's been an exciting and enthralling 8 laps of racing here at Interlagos, but the winner on Friday Night Primetime, it's Christopher Sevet in the Buckliga GR Cup, and he wins by a margin, more than 12 seconds by the end of the race. But we look back to this battle for P2. Andre Castro, Camille Caruso and Simon Polterak are going to run up towards the line, but it will be Andre Castro just holding off Camille Caruso, and Polterak agonizingly off of the podium. Fantastic racing from them all the way through, but you know, I think it really has been testament to how good the racing has been, Lorenzo, here this evening.
Absolutely. Clean racing between everybody. That's what we want to see, even though it isn't the biggest grid in GR86 parameters. As we're going to see more drivers, that's like Crispin Rita, I think, coming up in P5. Yeah, Jack Kent right behind him. But Interlagos always gives some good racing. I got quite surprised. The wet delivers some close racing for the top 3 in the podium, and we got, you know, excitement from start to finish.
Excitement and Barney, they're getting a bit damp, waving the checkered flag. But here are the results. Christopher 7th at number 5 wins by a margin in the Butt Kicker GR Cup here on Friday Night Primetime. Andre Castro P2 and Kamil Kauru's just behind in P3. Simon Polterak agonisingly off the podium, nearly picked his way in front of Kamil Kauru, but in the end has to settle for P4. It's Crispin Wright in P5, with Jack Ken, after a couple of offs in the early stages, recovered to P6. Woniarski 7th and Morris Messing up from P13 to P8. Clement Gaudet in P9, I should say. Oliver Kunz rounds out the top 10. A few more drivers, Alvaro Lopez, Matthew Krauts and Chris Wett, not finishing the race in the end. 13 drivers in this race. But Lorenzo, I mean, it really did show how good that race was in terms of how these cars can still race in these wet conditions. Interlagos, a track really where we do see some overtaking, but it was no different in those wet conditions, was it?
No, it was, and I think it provided a good action between everybody. The level of the grid was quite decent at the front, so that was good to see everybody, you know, giving a lot of respect, a lot of, you know, space for you to fight on. You know, it's just like one certain driver would say, leave space whenever you're doing any battles on the track, and there were plenty of space given by everybody, and well done for everybody within that top 5 and everybody else that finished the race.
Yeah, congratulations to our top 5 finishes. But of course, once we leave here at Interlagos, we will be moving across the world and into a very different car, into a Super Formula Lights car, Lorenzo, heading to Twin Ring Motegi. So quite a different challenge, but I think, you know, we're going to see some similarly good racing. I think we're looking forward to some nice, close, side-by-side action, and Twin Ring Motegi always lends itself to that.
Yeah, gotta love some Twin Ring Motegi as we look into Super Formula Lights. A really good race, a really good car that it just came in on this season. Some would argue, you know, the evolution of F3 in one of the most iconic tracks in Japan.
Of course, and with the oval as well, of course, Twin Ring jewels up in multiple aspects. It's a fantastic place for racing action. Of course, we've seen many a good race, even in IndyCar in years gone by, here at the Twin Ring Motegi. Myself, Darren Thacker, still alongside Lorenzo Bonda, as we have transferred across now into this Super Formula Lights Championship. And here is the calendar. We have been to some interesting races so far. Road America, Hockenheim and Road Atlanta, the first 3. We were at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve last week, but at Motegi, I think, Lorenzo, we're going to have a bit of a different challenge. Some relatively long straights, some definite overtaking opportunities, and I think we might see some really quite aggressive moves in this race.
Yeah, especially coming down into the final corners right there, like the final 4 corners right after coming down the hill, right hand side, basically a 90-degree turn to the right hand side while you prepare for the final. You would argue maybe 3 turns because of the double left-hander into a right-hander. And it's always good racing, and it kind of brings up the classical feeling of Super Formula. You know, Super Formula, Japanese brand, Japanese racing, going to a Japanese track. What more can you ask for? As long as we get some Japanese really good drivers, that would be great.
Of course, recent history, I mean, last year we saw a massive incident, didn't we, on lap 1 in the Super Formula race with Liam Lawson having one of the drivers included in a major collision at the exit of turn 2. So definitely room for some incident here this evening, maybe some great overtaking as well. We're looking forward to it. Looking ahead in the calendar as well, I mean, we've got Monza coming up next week, the Hungaroring as well. I mean, they're all kind of the same ilk of circuits, aren't they, with Motegi? So do you think this will really kind of set the drivers up, good bit of experience into the coming weeks?
It's going to be maybe, because Twin Ring, I think, is a more truncated track, in my opinion, than what Monza is. Monza, we know, is basically, you know, draft. You know, draft, corner, draft, corner, draft, corner, draft, corner, draft, corner. So it's basically the name of the game. Here it demands a little bit more technique, because some of the corners, especially the second sector, is a little bit control the drivers off, because you're have a little bit of elevation, and the sweeping bends and reacceleration can catch some of these guys off guard. But I like Motegi because it is a hard track for you to nail it down. but and always and those who nail it down, you know, are gonna take full advantage of it. And might see some daunting overtakes at some spots that I don't even know to properly overtake.
I mean, to start the lap, we have 3 relatively similar length of straights down towards turn 1, down towards turn 3, down towards turn 5. They're all kind of bit of a muchness. They, you know, switch backing on itself, turn 1 and 2, really just one sweeping right-hander, turn 3 and 4, a sweeping left-hander, and then that run from turn 10 down to turn 11, a downhill braking zone as well. You know, I think it's going to be a challenge for some of these guys. We're seeing the first drivers coming through there now, but I think we're going to see quite a bit of overtaking in those areas.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Especially this final sector. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some guys, you know, driving side by side, right, and try to get around the best way they can into the track itself. And what is interesting about Motegi is that trend of Japanese tracks being operated by the manufacturers, right? This is Honda track. So I think Honda has this track in Fuji, if I remember correctly, as their tracks. No, actually, Fuji's a Toyota track, but it's that thing of Japan. You know, the brands dominate the scene in the Nippon land.
They do, but we'll have to see who can come out on top in terms of the races here this evening. A couple of drivers who were with us for the Butt Kicker GR Cup are joining us over here for the Super Formula Lights Championship, and we'll have to see how they go as we look at the time so far. It's tied at the top. Dimitri Yanis, only 0.07 of a second ahead of Dean Santos, so you know, we might see some close racing here. Of course, dry track, a little bit more predictable for the drivers. This could be quite exciting.
Yeah. So and obviously this is going to be a little bit more closer than what we normally expect, right? And since this is a fixed setup, not an open setup, so drivers have to adapt with the trackability around the track and see how they're going to negotiate with the brake bias and all. So that's what makes it a little bit interesting, as Alexander Wenger is going to go up and top. And all the rest are going to start to clock their laps in, as there's still about 2 minutes on the board. For those who open up the lap, they still might have one more, as Dijkman is going to cancel his lap.
He is. I mean, there's still a little bit of time for these guys to improve. There's Andre Castro, just fresh on the back of P2 at Interlagos, puts it straight into P3 here, as he is now into the #1 car yet again. So we'll have to see if he can improve on his P2 and try and put himself into the win here at Motegi. But a 20-minute race for him to negotiate. Nathan Castellid not really having the best of lines through turn 11 there as he exits the final corner, and that is a very suboptimal line through there. A very nice pirouette, but it's not really going to gain you too much time, is it?
No, unfortunately not. That is not going to be the case, and apparently he's going to board his lap. Now we're looking to Ben Blaustein and see how he's going to fare coming into the final part of the track, basically the end of the second sector into the beginning of the third sector, and now the long straight all the way down into turn number 11 to get that right-hand corner right.
Let's just see how these guys can figure this one out. Ben Blaustein trying to improve on his time. Sebastian Bowe as well. Time ticking away on the clock. Just under a minute in this qualifying session here on Friday night Primetime. Very pleased that you can all join us here at Twin Ring Motegi. We were at Interlagos, but we're now over here in the land of the rising sun for the Super Formula Lights Championship. It's our first time in Japan in this Super Formula Lights Championship. The cars have come home, you could say. Sunday David Dehal is up into P5. The times are still quite close for some of these guys. I mean, you look through the field, a second splitting the top 11, really. So this could be an incredibly exciting 20 minutes worth of a race, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. And shall prove to be close among everybody. Of course, it might race a little bit differently than Interlagos, despite the fixed setup, right, Dara? Because you have some areas where, you know, the aero push might actually happen, or some technical areas where drivers that know the track a little bit more, like I said before, and master it, are going to be able to break away and put up a little bit of a gap. But it's still going to be a hard one, because that first sector demands a lot of the attention of the drivers.
It does, but the man looking to run away in that first sector on the opening lap will be Dion Santos, because he has put it on pole position here. Dimitri Yanis lining up alongside him, only just about a 10th off. It's Alexander Wenger in P3 with Andre Castro, fresh from Interlagos, putting it into P4. Sunday David Dayal in P5 and Ben Blaustein in P6. Rounds out a tight top 6. Liam Skeets and Callan O'Keefe in the top 8. Sam Geisbers and Jan Volmers round out the top 10. Dennis Cornu just missing out, 1,000th behind Volmers. So very tight in this mid-pack with Sebastian Bowe in P12. Claudio Cadazzi in P13, Ryan Corns and Paulin Lambert in the top 15. Sergio Bianco, Logan McKinsey and Carlos Gonzalez are our top 18 runners. Not too many more cars to run through, I don't believe. But, you know, tight grid. We might expect some nice racing for some of these guys here in the Super Formula Lights Championship. And as they all grid up, no formation lap to speak of here in the Super Formula Lights competition. So we will await for them to get us going. But Lorenzo, I mean, could be quite fast and furious in the early stages.
Yeah, it will. And natures of the formulas can be a little bit chaotic. Track conditions 21 Celsius degrees, 37 on track. Humidity is quite low for a springy season in Japan. 39 percentage, and the winds are not going to be a whole lot of an effect. The question is, can it survive the lap 1 chaos that normally Formula Racing provides, especially at this level?
Yes, it does. We'll have to see if Dion Santos can get away at the front. We saw it in the Buckaka GR Cup just about 20 minutes ago, but can Dion Santos repeat the feed and get away in the lead here in the Super Formula Lights Championship? You can just see his car loading in there in that green and blue car as we are about to get going. 20 minutes of racing here on Friday night prime time at the Twin Ring Motegi circuit. We've got Dion Santos on pole, and the lights are out, and we are away here for a good start off for our pole sitter. Fighting in behind, they're 2 wide, trying to avoid each other into the opening corner. They're 3 wide at the front, a couple in the mid-pack as well, going side by side. But an ideal start for our leader as we see chaos all over the back of the field.
Yeah, and somehow, someway, there's 3 wide coming into turn number 3. This can work and this work. Andre Castro managed to put the car on the inside. There's a little bit of a gap given to Santos. And somehow, Castro is able to do the overtake, but there's still turn number 5, though, to deal with under the bridge. The oval bridge they will go. Side by side here, Dara, we can still see lots of chaos running through on the track.
Andre Castro, fantastic stuff from him to put himself up into P1, but look at Santos trying to reclaim his position. Dimitri Yanis isn't giving up on this lead either. There was chaos in the background. I'm sure we'll get to that in the not too distant future, but for now we're looking at Dion Santos maybe making a move on the inside of turn 9. Has to think better of it as Yanis defends, but Andre Castro, he's making moves like there's no tomorrow tonight, working his way through at Interlagos in the GR86s, and now working his way through in the Super Formula Lights as we now see Liam Skeets go for the move. Fantastic opening lap here at Twin Ring Motegi.
Yeah, really good as they're going to come down the hill. We're going to look on the replay. What happened to Wetz is just has not been his day. Touched by the number 17 of Nathan Casilde. So fortunate to see Wetz race going down the drain once again. And now we're going to look into Jan Volmers. Jan, more of a prototype driver than a Formula driver, just making a very honest mistake going to turn number 9.
This must have been a replay here. 3 wide, they were coming into, oh my word, there was big contact. I think that was where we saw the main incident down at turn 3. And it just 3 into 1 there, not going for these guys. And unfortunate to see a few races being somewhat damaged in the early stages. Of course, we've got a long way to go. 18 minutes here at Twin Ring Motegi, but Andre Castro does lead us away. It's tied in behind, though. You can see another replay here of Jan Volmers spinning it around. I mean, not being the perfect start, but for some of these guys, you really just got to be able to recover really quite quickly, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Not on the case for Team Vince Bronson, unfortunately, with the Benson Hedges Jordan livery. Unfortunate to see him go, but it is what it is. These cars' cold tires behave a little bit differently. They are a little bit more loose, and you got to respect these cars. You got to respect the low-power Formula cars. They will bite you on the rear end if you let it. And now, just let the tire build up, and once that is done, go on full flat racing, as I think what the Estonian Dimitri Yanis is trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is we've had some fantastic racing action in the opening couple of laps. Exactly what we expected from these Super Formula Lights here at Twin Ring Motegi. Just shows how raceable these cars are, how fun they are to drive, and how great it is to watch them go side by side, particularly here on RaceSpotTV on Friday night prime time. Alexander Wenger dropped down a few positions off the start and trying to defend his position as well as they come down in towards turn 11. Dennis Cornu trying to take that off of him. Ben Blaustein defending from Callan O'Keefe, who has also dropped a couple of positions. Looking behind though, Nathan Castilday, he's up 11, started P23, up to 12th in only the first couple of laps. That's an absolutely fantastic start from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Right at the front, I think Wenger just lost position to Dennis Cornu, so Cornu able to do the overtake after the mistake from the number 14. So still a little bit more than 16 laps to go. Well, the laps we have on the track average will be 12 laps in this race. Will it be more? Will it be less? We'll see.
We will see. Of course, leaders lapping just around 1 minute 42 at the moment. So, yeah, we're probably looking around that 11, 12, 13 lap marker. But we're nearly a quarter of the way through this race, but we're seeing some moves being made. Nathan Castilday started P23. He's already more than half that position up to P11 now. Fantastic work from him, but it's not done yet. Logan McKinsey trying to do the up and under here as they work their way now through turn 6 into turn 7. When it comes to this back part of the racetrack here at Motegi, it can be difficult to find the lines, but if you can take an alternative line and get a good exit, it can really help hammer the move home.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you already are able to put side by side the car and come into the corner and use the grip, the mechanical grip, to allow you to go outside the corner and power it out a little bit earlier than your opponent does. But it is just like you said, some parts of the track are flowy and demand a certain flow, just like Suzuka. That makes it a little bit different. Skeets is going to try to defend the position from Giespers, and for now, Skeets retains P4.
Does Dimitri Yanis, though, we're looking at here. Oh, a little bit wide from Andre Castro, our leader, through the final corner. That's not the ideal line, but it hasn't hurt him too much. He crosses the line, still in the lead. Dion Santos started on pole, but he's now trying to recover his way back to the front, as we're seeing Sam Giespers just at the front of the screen. They're fighting away with Liam Skeets over P4. Let's see who can come out on top. Skeets around the outside. I think he's just about able to keep his footing. He'll have the inside for turn 3 and 4. Can he get this one signed and sealed? Yes, he can. Sam Giespers not really having an answer, but he's trying an up and under. Not quite going to work through there.
Yeah, putting the nose is the number 2 of Giespers. Is going to try to do the overtake, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Looks for the inside move. A little bit of a risky move down the inside, but it's going to now go for the cutback. Number 2 gets the run over here. Still retains a little bit of an overlap and might get the position coming into the next 2 corners. He has to commit though.
He does have to commit. And these two, fantastic. We are seeing some fantastic side-by-side action all the way through the field. Great to see these Super Formula Light cars really showing us and providing us with some great racing action here at Twin Ring Motegi. But let's see how this one develops, because Skeets, he's dropped quite a long way off the back of the leaders. You can just about see as well Santos getting close to Castro, but inside line now for Alexander Wenger. Race hasn't gone too much to his favour so far, but he's back up into P8 now.
Yeah, absolutely, and still retains a little bit of a gap to the drivers in front of me, while Santosh goes into the lead. Move on turn 11 on Castro, probably made a little bit of a mistake. We're going to look on the replay. Santosh just using as much as the draft he could possibly muster, and then dives down on the inside, has a preferred line over Castro. Clean overtake for the number 7 in the track.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job at the moment. Of course, he did lose that lead on the opening lap after taking pole position, but he's worked his way back to the front. But let's see if he could stay there. Skeets and Giespers still fighting it out through turn 1 and 2. Dennis Cornu and Callan O'Keefe are being dragged into this battle as well, as Giespers not giving it up. It worked the inside line for Liam Skeets at turn 3 last time out. Will it work again? I very much think it will, but Giespers getting a bit of a better up and under, sticking his front nose in at turn 4. He's still going to have a bit of a run towards turn 5, but these guys still battling it out through pretty much the entire circuit.
Yeah, but it's like there's a certain point where I think I started biting my nails, right, where we can see a little bit of a disaster zone. As we're going to see now, Skeets have a little bit of a moment in, like I said.
Yeah, Liam's Yeah, Liam Skeet, he's just been turned around there. The rear end was pushed, and Skeet's dropping down to P12 now. Giesber's dropping down as well. We'll have a look at the replay. You could just see maybe a bit of confusion, the speed being taken into the corner. Skeet's shedding a little bit of that momentum as he ran through turn 6, and it seems to caught Giesber's a little bit out there, and they're still nearly finding each other on the racetrack. So, unfortunate, I think it's fair to say, but, you know, it's a bit of an occupational hazard when you're fighting so hard as we've seen these guys do so far this evening. Problem for Dennis Cornu. He is dropping very much down the order, and maybe, you know, either out of this race or really spinning around somewhere that is inopportune. But Santosh leading the way.
I think he's out. I think he's just towed back to the pit lane. So unfortunately, Cornu might be related to what happened between Geets and Giesber. So we're gonna look on the replay now. Here's Cornu. Oh, just overly committed on the hairpin, and then hits the back. Oh no, the rejoin. Mind the rejoin. And then, oh no, the second time.
I think that was unfortunate.
Cruel.
Yeah, I think it was a very unfortunate situation there for Dennis Cornu. I mean, I think he was there ready, getting the car back on track and back into racing conditions, but gave it a little bit too much throttle, and that'll be his race over here this evening. But look at Alexander Wenger. He's trying to fight his way alongside Glenn Blaustein through turn 5. Nathan Casilde, remember, he started in P23. He's now in this battle for P5. Fantastic work from him. And we're not quite halfway through this race, but Wenger around the outside trying to retake some of the positions he lost. He was P3 on the grid. He dropped down to P8. He's recovered so far to P5.
Yeah, you can see now Blaustein around the outside. Not going to get the run in, but it's going to be able to have the advantage and the overlap coming into the next hairpin, the turn 10 hairpin right here. Can he still have to move a little bit of apparently some wheel-to-wheel contact, tire-to-tire contact between Blaustein and Wenger, and Casilde just, you know, being the bystander, just waiting, lurking, see what's going to happen outside line for Wenger. Wenger overcommits into the sand trap, and unfortunately going to lose several spots. Just mind the rejoin.
Yeah, that is not where you're supposed to place your car through turn 11. If you're looking for tips, don't brake too late into turn 11, because you will find yourself deep in that gravel trap. And that's exactly where we saw Alexander Wenger there. Look at this little battle, though, up for P5 that is still continuing. Logan McKinsey is attaching himself to the back here as well. So we are starting to see little groups form, aren't we? We're more than halfway through this race at Twin Ring Motegi, but we're not short of action still, are we, Lorenzo? Because we've got the leaders battling away, only half a second between those guys, and we've got battles like this for P5 with 3 cars split by less than a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is good racing between everybody, you know, trying to give as much space to everybody as we look into Santosh. Trying to break away from Castro. Jan is trying to, you know, drive as fast, as hard as he can right behind, maintaining a good gap, you know, to the drivers are going to look into what happened to Kodazi. Kodazi with a massive lunge coming into the inside of turn number 3, but there was no room. That was slammed right shut in. He has to, you know, slam on the brakes to avoid a crash that would end a lot of people's races.
And it's a good job that we've only got a couple. Here's Nathan Casil, again, started P23. He's fighting for a place in the top 5 if he can make this one stick. Diving to the inside, a late move there at turn 10. He can't quite make it stick, but for a moment I really thought he had that one done by surprise, really, on Ben Blaustein, I should say. Down in towards turn 11 we go. Blaustein taking an inside line, quite an aggressive defensive line. But Nathan's going to retake that racing line to try and sweep around the outside. Can he make this one work? Going to get squeezed out onto the exit curb. Bit of a lift in the air. Through comes Logan McKinsey.
And now goes McKinsey at the line, and Blaustein and Casilde crash.
And that is going to be the end of their evenings in terms of any kind of effective racing. Well, Ben Blaustein not really having too much damage on the car, but we'll see a replay here. So, yeah, just a bit of a touch there as they made their exit through turn 11. And then I think, oh, yeah, just either losing a bit of the rear end there, because it looked like a little bit of rear snap. But either way, a lot of speed taken off by Blaustein in towards turn 13. It caught out Nathan, and all of that good work, it's been undone. Just like that, really.
Yeah, fortunate to know it. And I wonder if Blaustein has some more damage on the diffuser and in the back straight in the back end of the car, because I think he might lose the position to Dykman. He's trying to go on to Sergio Bianco, and also there's one more driver. I think that is Sunday David Dial right in front of him. But for now, he managed to get off of one. Right behind Dykman, I think, try to defend from Michael Castro. Michael Castro not able to do the overtake. But still good action between everybody in the mid-pack, as now all eyes turn to the front, as Al Castro is on the defensive against Dimitri Yanis.
Yeah, these three, Santos, Castro and Yanis, they've been there or thereabouts with each other all race long. I mean, I think they've each been in the lead at some point. They've each been in second and they've each been in third. So they really have been swapping around in this battle, particularly in the opening laps. But Andre Castro now, he's starting to struggle a bit, isn't he? Dropping off the back of Dion Santos. The gap now nearly out to 9/10 of a second as they run their way down in towards turn 1 and turn 2. Dimitri Yanis will be looking at that. We'll be seeing that there's a slight weakness in Castro's pace at the moment, and he may try and take advantage over the next 6 minutes.
Absolutely, and he might also think, oh, I can actually get some. If I can get myself clear of Castro just like that, he has to be quick, you know. I can actually get around Santosh, but I think Yanis washes out into turn number 3 and 4, and unfortunately opens up the door for Castro to breathe in a little bit. Meanwhile, going for P5, P6 and P7 and P8 rather. Wenger's trying to defend his move against Lambert, but cooks it out on turn number 3. Lambert cleanly goes into the inside and makes the move.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an up and down race, hasn't it, really, for Alexander Wenger so far this evening. He was up in P3, back in P8, back up to P5, now back in P8, and trying to work his way back up once again. On board we go with Dimitri Yanis, who has lost the position off the start after starting on the front row, but he's there right on the back of Andre Castro. Dion Santos really starting to pull the pin on this battle, trying to force the issue and pull away here. Only 5 minutes to go. I mean, Yanis, he's really got to get a move on soon if he wants to take that position, or second position back.
Yeah, but I think it's going to take a little bit of work. Coming down into the corners, you have to overwork the car a little bit more than he probably wants to. Well, Castro might say otherwise. Let me just give you a hint, as probably Sunday David D. Hall just having more issues in rejoining in a dangerous position outside of number 10.
Sunday David Dayal, shouldn't be a tongue twister. Getting very close. There it goes. There's the contact we saw being lifted up into the air before for Nathan not too long ago, and Sunday there at turn 10 with a very tight corner in terms of it being 180 degrees, even harder to get yourself back out of that gravel trap. But with 4 minutes to go on the clock, I think we're going to have 3 more laps worth of racing here at Motegi. So ample time ready for these guys to still fight it out. And talking about fighting out, Dykman and Bianco are still going at it. They're 23 seconds off the lead, but they are really going hammer and tong for this position. Michael Castro not too far back from this battle either, as he looked to send it, but it is Wim Dykman trying to make the move. There's contact, there's big contact, and that's the gravel trap for Sergio Bianco.
Yeah, and I think we saw that coming from a mile away, the way they were racing, right? Look on the replay, here's Bianco on the inside. Tries to block, I think, Michael Castro's line a little bit, didn't give it a lot of room, and Castro just trying to retain his line into the entry of number 4, causing the contact with Bianco. Bianco goes around.
Of course, Michael Castro not to be confused with Andre Castro, who is currently in P2. Differing fortunes for those two guys, one in P2, the other in P11. But, I mean, good moves, I think, through the field for Michael Castro so far in this race. Did not start in P11. So, I mean, let's see how this one, finishes really, because we're seeing quite a lot of opportunities for guys. You can see the position changes there. Indeed, Michael Castro started last up to P11. Logan McKinsey as well started in P17 up to P5. Here comes Alexander Wenger. He has been a magnet of action so far this evening. He's into P7 once again.
Yeah, just finds himself a good line for overtaking into turn number 11, but it's not going to open up the door again for Blaustein. Blaustein nearly coming from the dead, as Dill's going to retain a really good action inside lane. He's going to be for the number 13. He's going to be able to make the move on Lambert. Just like that, it goes to number 13 and goes up one spot, nearly coming back into his original spot that he was fighting for a few laps ago.
I mean, he started P6, was fighting over P5, and he is nearly there. Could probably recover to P7 ahead of Alexander Wenger, but I mean, there's a 6-second gap ahead to this little battle. Logan McKenzie and Liam Skeets fighting out. Logan McKenzie, definite shout for what would be driver of the day, because 12 positions gained. That is half the field in this 24-strong Super Formula Lights Championship. So full credit to him where it's due. Similarly to Michael Castro, who was up 13. Shame for Nathan Casilda as well, because he was having a great race, possibly looking to be up nearly 20 positions as well. So some very good performances through the field, but a lap and a half to go now for Liam Skeets to try and put himself back up into the top 5, and the chances are running out.
Yeah, he's going to have about 1 1/3 of a lap to try to do that. A little bit of a brake check coming from McKenzie to Skeets. Not intentional, though, because he kind of parks it on the apex. Skeets going to have the opportunity to make a move on turn number 11. The middle line for McKenzie. He's going to cover that outside line, brake late. Skeets try to do the same thing, and Skeets goes up 1 position. And now the pressure goes on to McKenzie to try to do the overtake.
Let's see if they can do it as they come around the final corner. They will meet the white flag here at Motegi. 1 to go on Friday night prime time. We've had some fantastic racing action so far, but it will be Dean Santos who will meet the flag next time around. Let's see if he can hold off Andre Castro. He's done a fantastic job ever since he took the lead about 10 minutes ago. And Castro, I mean, it looks like it's going to be consecutive P2 finishes on Friday night prime time for him.
Yeah, just to cap it all off with 2 podiums. It's always good. A little bit of a boost in the ego. In different categories, by the way, open wheels and then sports cars.
Yeah, I mean, 2 very different cars, so you know, full credit to him for doing a fantastic job in both series. Just shows why he has got that number 1 on his car. Look at Logan McKenzie, he's coming back for P5 on Liam Skeets, but Skeets isn't giving it up himself. Through turn 7 they go, through the flowing left right combination here at Twin Ring Motegi. Skeets will have the inside line as they run down in towards turn number 9, and he looks like he's got that position relatively sewn up. There's only really 1 more overtaking opportunity for him to try and deal with. I wasn't counting in turn 10, but around the outside goes Logan McKenzie, trying the up and under. He is giving it absolutely everything, but out front it's going to be Dean Santos who takes the flag and wins on Friday night prime time. As we see him run across the line, he took pole position, wasn't leading the opening lap, but he wins in the end. Andre Castro P2 in the Toyota Buckiga GR Cup, and P2 here in the Super Formula Lights Championship. Dimitri Yannis will be P3 as well, and Callan O'Keefe will be 4th. But what a race that was, Lorenzo, from a lot of these guys. Some great racing action, and we've still got some action right to the end of the race.
Yeah, we nearly saw a lot of stuff happen in the track itself, but also importantly, Skeets managing to hold the McKenzie in 5th place. And McKenzie put outside, spin at the final corner. Someone made a little bit of a blunder right there, might lose a position or 2. But we'll tell you, for all it says in purposes, for these low power cars, delivered quite a lot of action today.
Absolutely has, and it really shows why we showcase this championship on Friday night prime time. We get some fantastic racing action up and down the field, but at the top of the field here this evening at Twin Ring Motegi, it was Dean Santos. He qualified on pole and he converted that into a race victory. Andre Castro P2 and Dimitri Yannis rounding out the podium. It was quite a gap back to Callan O'Keefe, who in the end drove a very lonely race for P4. Liam Skeets holds off Logan McKenzie after a great last lap battle for P5 and P6. Alexander Wenger up and down for him. P7 is his final result. Ben Blaustein in 8th, Paulin Lambert in 9th, and Ryan Corns rounds up the top 10. Not a name we really mentioned, but he kept his nose clean and picked himself up a top 10 result. Michael Castro in P11 and Claudio Cadazzi, a couple of offs for him. He finishes in P12. Wim Dijkman in 13th, with Sebastian Bow in 14th, with Sundi David Deal in the top 15. Jimmy Cherry, Jan Volmers, Carlos Gonzalez, Sergio Bianco, and Dennis Corner in the top 20 in this race. Then just the final 4 finishers. Nathan Casilda, who in fact didn't finish the race after such a promising start. That contact sent him, sent him to the garage and couldn't come back out. Sam Giesbers in 22nd. Chris Vetz and Tim Van Spronsen in the top 24. A few of those guys not seeing the flag, which is unfortunate, but for the guys that did, some fantastic racing all the way through the field. And looking forward, Lorenzo, if we can have a quick peek at the calendar, we have got some interesting tracks coming up in the next couple of weeks here on Friday night prime time. Both the Hungaroring and Monza, I think, really going to serve us well in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Hungaroring, I think, is going to be quite interesting for week 7, but more importantly, Monza coming up next week. We know that Monza always delivers some tad of, chaos in the first lap going into the Rettifilo chicanes and in Della Raggia, so it's going to be quite of an enticing race, nerve-wracking, nail-biting, you would argue. Hungaroring a little bit more truncated because, the aero push and everything might make the cars a little bit more challenging for you to run, high downforce, but turn 1 always provides something very interesting for everybody to watch.
And really hoping that the next couple of weeks in this Super Formula Lights Championship serve us very, very well indeed. And after the race we've just seen at Twin Ring Motegi, who is going to say that is not the case? But that's it from us here on RaceSpotTV from Friday Night Primetime. We've watched a fantastic wet race at Interlagos for the Toyota Buckkicker GR Cup. And here at Twin Ring Motegi, a fantastic end to what was an incredible Super Formula Lights Championship race. My name has been Dareth Thacker, joined by Lorenzo Bonda in the commentary box. It's been a pleasure to have your company this evening. We hope to see you again this time next week. Quick little shout out to Ramiro for making the broadcast this evening. Made it